Welcome to this version of Lee's Open Mic, and today we are so happy to have Mr. Tom Arnold with us. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, Lee. What's happening, buddy?
Well, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, it's what an honor it is to be here at Lee's Open Mic.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of digital masons work
There
hard
are.
to put
There are. It's beautiful.
that together.
Beautiful thing.
Thank you. So let's get into the background with you, Tom.
Yep.
When you launched in comedy, how did that begin with you? Were you going to a local open mic? What happened?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, you know, we had a single father, and my dad basically worked. Then he came home, but we didn't hear our dad laugh a lot. But I remember my brother and I, we'd be upstairs, and when there was a Bob Hope special on. Do you remember Bob Hope?
Oh yeah.
And that was the only time we really heard our dad laughing downstairs. And I remember saying to my brother, whatever it is that Bob Hope does,
right,
that's what I want to do. And so, you know, Bob Hope was a comedian, and he had these specials, and they were huge when we were young. And so I think that was in the back of my mind. And as I grew older, you know, Tumble, Iowa is a tough working class town, and just the gauntlet getting to school, especially if you're from a family with no mother. I mean,
right,
whatever's different about you, you're growing up. Yeah. People point it out. Kids are tough. And so the gauntlet getting to school past the Reamer boys, past the Winston boys, was tough. And I figured out at a certain point that if I could be funny and entertain these guys, maybe they would stop beating me up. And so, you know, I became a bit of a class clown, and that, you know, that carried on. And, you know, I guess in the back of my mind I had this dream. And so after high school, and there's no way to become a comedian from a Tumble. I mean, nobody else did it. And my goal was, I thought, well, maybe if I could go to college, that would be. Yeah. And so I worked at a meatpacking plant for 3 years, where I was a clown in the meatpacking plant. There's a lot of fun things you could do at a meatpacking plant for fun. But I saved money and got to the University of Iowa, and they had open mic night. And you could get on stage, you could tell jokes, or you could play a song or whatever. And I got all my friends, and we drank Everclear Punch, which is Everclear with powdered Gatorade. I don't recommend it, but it works. And I did jokes. I did old jokes. Richard Pryor, whatever. I thought you could do old jokes. And,
sure.
And my friends died laughing, and I thought I was hilarious. And I said, that's it. That's what I want to do. And there were some real comedians from Minneapolis who went on after me, and all my friends left because they were just there with me. Yeah. And the real comedian said, hey, we're coming back. If you get your friends to stay for the real comedians, we will give you a job in Minneapolis doing comedy. And by the way, you have to have original jokes.
Right, right. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. So I said, you'll give me a job in Minneapolis at a real comedy club? Oh, my gosh. So I got my stuff in a trash bag, left school. I had $100, got on a bus, showed up at the comedy club in Minneapolis for my job. I thought, this is a career. And the guy's like, no, it's one weekend for $17.50. And I was like, oh, no, I don't have anywhere to live. And I went to the nearest bar, Williams Pub, and got a job as a bouncer and to work to pay my way so I could do these open mics in Minneapolis. And I did that for a couple years, and I'd be able to, eventually I could make a living doing it. I lived there 5 years and learned to write for other people and do things. I met Roseanne when I first moved there. She was a traveling comedian from Denver, and I started writing jokes for her and other people. And then in 1988, I moved to Los Angeles to write the sitcom Roseanne when it started. And so that's how it started. And by the way, one of the first things I did when I moved to Los Angeles was a Bob Hope special. And I remember Bob Hope called my father and talked to him, and he wrote my father this letter, and he signed all this stuff. And I thought, well, now I've peaked because I've done everything I dreamed of doing as a kid.
Right.
I've done a Bob Hope special. Yeah. There's nothing left.
I've proved my manhood
exactly.
to my father.
I have no more goals because everybody's like, what are your dreams? Well, I've done them. So, you know, I never had any dreams beyond that. So everything else I've kind of fallen into it and just gone wherever it's taken me. I started off wanting to be a comedian, then I was a writer, then I was an actor, and now I do a little bit of everything.
It's interesting that most male comics, including myself, they always, when you think that seed that pops in your head, it's usually about trying to make your dad laugh.
Right.
It just seems that is the one commonality that a lot of male comics have.
Well, I think there's that. I think that as you get older, it's also think about making your kids laugh. It's a full cycle. You know, it's funny because I have little kids. You know, I'm 58. I have a 4-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. And it's funny because our TV records all the movies and TV shows I do, and my son he's not having any of it, but I have friends that do voices on cartoons, and they will call in those characters of the Powerpuff Girls or whatever, and my son is so into that. His Tara Strong friend, like I know that's how to, that is cool to him. Not Brad Pitt or somebody like that, but so whatever it takes to get my son interested, because you want to be cool. You want to be cool in your dad's eyes, but then to be cool in your kid's eyes. I mean, it's so. I think you think both ways. I think making your dad laugh is cool, but now it's trying to make your kids laugh.
Well, how many dates you doing a year now? What are you trying to do?
I go out 2 weekends a month, and then I do individual dates. I do the corporate stuff and the special stuff, and I just did a special that comes out soon. It'll be on Hulu and everywhere, and I enjoy it. I kind of do whatever, and like a place like Lexington. See, I get to choose where I go. I don't have to knock on wood. And so I know Lexington is a fantastic place. It's got a national reputation. It's not a chain. And so when it comes up the opportunity, I say, well, I definitely want to go there. They take care of me. It's a good city. It's good people that run it, and they know comedy. And so I'm lucky to be able to. I don't have to go to every place,
I
don't. Not yet.
I oftentimes try to tell the audiences or people that live in Lexington, you don't know how good you got it because there's a lot of cities don't have a comedy club the way Lexington does.
That's right. And I think sometimes they hire me to do the interviews to remind people there's a comedy club there.
Yeah.
And but comedy, stand-up comedy is my annuity because taking care of my family is the most important thing, obviously. And I know that if everything else goes to heck, I can go on the road and take care of my family, and that's a real blessing.
When you started as a comic, when you were just beginning and you were trying to build and construct your act, were there comics that you looked up to at that time, and maybe still do, that you thought these were sort of my comedy heroes? Because I know what an influence Bob Hope had, that indelible impression made with your father. But was there guys that you were like, man, this guy's good, I like watching this guy?
Well, at the meatpacking plant, I talk about. The things I say, if you work on the kill floor of a meatpacking plant, you will get two things for sure. You'll get very drunk every night, and you'll have crazy dreams, like that you're best friends with people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Robin Williams. And then, I became friends with both of them in real life, just like my dreams. And Rob Williams was a guy, Mork and Mindy was on when I worked at Hormel. And then to be sitting across the room from him and to get to know him that way. And I had so much respect for his comedy. And same with Richard Pryor, and to spend time with Richard Pryor. I mean, the night I met Richard Pryor at the Comedy Store, I was in the middle of the night back in Iowa, but I called everybody I know because that was... I was a super fan.
Now, was he working that night? Did he
he stopped out and went on stage with right before me, and he was so nice. And
was it what everybody says? Did he go? There's no way to follow Richard. He just goes
there's
up
no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
And he was so kind, and I mean, it took everybody's breath away. There's no. There's
it's magic.
So it's not like we're peers. Anybody, and. It's wonderful that to also give somebody the respect that they deserve to be in that business, with this business where you can respect people. I got to do a sports show too, where I got to spend time with my heroes.
Yeah, no, I used to love watching you guys.
And to sit next to people that
was Chris Rose, who was
Chris Rose, Michael Irvin, John Sally, and John Kruk, and those guys, especially the athletes, they're used to being around athletes. I mean, when I come to Lexington, this is the home of the Kentucky Wildcat. I mean, it's breathtaking to me now as a sports fan.
We should let them know you've gone to Rupp. You went
of course I have.
See
the basketball team just tweeted that I'm here because I just talked about them.
That's pretty cool, buddy.
I mean, I act like it's no big deal, but it's a big deal. Even me, when I was landing here, I'm thinking about the first time I came to Rupp, and as a kid, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye, but. Let's be honest, you still, when you're going to Iowa, you're aware of what's going on down here, and you're thinking, man, what would it be like if I could ever go watch a game there? And it's a big deal.
Yeah. So it lived up to your expectations, because it's interesting to hear your take coming from.
It does, and I think that it's also nicer than 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Yeah, right.
LED lighting helps everything,
right.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But things are nicer than 30 years ago, right? The lighting, the cool.
Yeah.
You know, because I can think of times going to football games and a lot of football, basketball games, a lot of places where you get there and you're like, this is kind of. I can think of going to a playoff game. The Giants. I'm a New York Giant fan, and the owner was my best man, and Steve Tisch. I'm the godfather of his son. And we got to San Francisco. You think San Francisco 49ers would have a great stadium? It was so bad. The owner's box was crappier.
This is
than
the old candlestick, right?
Yeah,
You're talking about? Yeah.
It was so bad in a big playoff game. But you see on TV and everything looks pretty amazing. But you know. It's nice here. It's nice here.
No, we're pretty proud of it. Well, you know what is really cool though? I think it's your Iowa Hawkeyes with that new children's hospital, that tradition that they've started just last season, this season, where they
you know
they
what's amazing about that is after the first quarter, everybody it's the Iowa wave, and everybody waves to the kids that are looking out the window of the children's hospital, and I see ESPN and a lot of people make a big deal of it, but that's really who Iowa is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, and that's who. Honestly, who Kentucky is too. Yeah. That's not the great thing about when you come in Lexington. Oh, it's great the Wildcat basketball team, but look at the hospitals you have here. Oh, yeah. Look at the Shriners and children's. I mean, it goes hand in hand. You have these college athletics and these giant programs. Then look at the hospitals too, and look what the same people that donate to the athletic programs donate to the hospitals, and you see a lot of things for children the same way. So. You know, I'm all for it, and it's wonderful.
You know, for us too, it's a little frustrating because you know, whatever reputation Calipari may have outside of this place, he's doing so much.
I
for
love
this
John
community.
Calipari. You know what?
This
he
guy
is one of my heroes. His 30 for 30. I love that guy. He is a fighter. I'll tell you what. Anybody has any criticism of him would take him in a freaking heartbeat to be their coach.
Of course they would.
He has dealt with what do you forget it? It is so great that he's here. What do you want the Louisville coach over here? Do you want that freaking guy?
We've been down that road.
Yeah. And by the way, people are saying, "Oh, the Louisville guy. Oh, Calipari's not him." Well, guess what? He isn't.
Yeah.
Where's he now? By the way. Anyway.
Yeah, we've been down that road.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, one thing we always try to ask our comics too: is there anything that you can easily recall of like a gig that just went south? Where things didn't work out, was there a place or an audience or things that you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I ever want to do this again? Is there a moment like that you can recall?
Well, I can recall being at the Montreal Comedy Festival, and I went out on stage. You know, you kind of run around, you do different shows at different venues, and I went out on stage and nothing, and I kept thinking, is my rhythm off? Is something off? And then I thought at a certain point, power through, say the words. I could feel the words leaving my mouth. Yeah. Say the words because they're filming this, so maybe they could add a laugh track. And then, but you know, you feel terrible. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. You feel terrible. And then I walked around stage, went right out to the car, and got away. And then maybe 3 days later, I found out it was a French-speaking. I didn't know at the time. I just know it was on me. Yeah. Believe me, there are times when I bomb. Trust me, and I could bomb. I could bomb tonight. I could bomb whatever.
No, of course.
But you know, also the great thing about doing long sets is you could bomb a little bit. Then you got to dig out. Like you could, you know, and you can work. If you go to if I do a short set at the Comedy Store, the Improv, or Laugh Factory,
10 minutes, 7 minutes.
You can bomb. Yeah.
You got to live with that.
But you learn a lesson. Right. You learn a lesson.
Well,
I've
learned. I'm just going to tell myself they were French.
From
now on, Tom, whenever I eat it, I'm just going to they were French. It wasn't my fault. Hey, buddy, thanks for coming and talking to us. Tom Arnold, guys. That'll do it for this edition of Lee's Open Mic.